Welcome to LG Hockey Hotline Trade Deadline
What
Special
are we
on
listening to?
Yeah, I have no idea. I'm not in charge of the controls today. That's you.
It is a commercial for our show. That's fucking amazing. I can't believe that was just coming through. There we go. Everything's off. I wonder why that was coming through. Anyway, whatever.
Anyway,
I'm
so
a man.
LG Hockey Hotline Trade Deadline Special. We are live, and if our show's anything the way it just started, we're in for a doozy today. But lots of trades already happened. We've already had a trade happen and have it unhappen, have it get reversed. A lot of things going on. We're going to have a bunch of guests here today, some owners and GMs from around the league. We've got a couple guys that we'll talk to about just in a few minutes. But to start things off, before I get into anything else, Goose, Chuck, Maranaconda, how are you guys doing today?
Confused, but we're here. We're getting her going. We got a lot of shit to do. It is a Sunday afternoon here, and we're going to be on the air for probably 2+ hours. Talking to GMs, owners. We've had a lot of movement since Thursday in the league. And, here we go. Trade deadline is upon us. We are in week 7, if you can believe that shit, boys. Week 7 of the season about to start. And, Goose, how you feeling tonight?
I'm feeling great. I'm ready for the trade deadline special. I wasn't a part of this last year when you guys did one in the AHL. So now part of it in the NHL. It's exciting to see what's going to happen over the next couple of hours. And also, of course, in the background, I'll be able to watch the Patriots beat up on the Jets. So it's another positive.
Well, I walked away from that stressful Jacksonville Buffalo game to do this. And quite honestly, after the start to this show, I might as well just stayed there. But, as I'm looking over this and everything, right before we got on air, the Bruins traded Daniel Epps to the Sharks for J. Rose 19. Kind of an interesting deal there. Daniel Epps is having an outstanding season this year. He's been playing really well. He went 2-1 this past week, had a tougher week, only had, I think, 3 points. By far the lowest point total he's put up this year, but the guy's had an outstanding season, so it was interesting to see that deal come across because it looked like Boston was fairly happy with everything that they had done. But before we get to that and any more trades, let's move into the standings real quick. We had a few things move around this past week. Dallas was on top of the Western Central at the end of last week for the first time all season. Chicago had given up that place. Starting back this week, they end the week back up in their number 1 spot. The Blackhawks do, up 1 point on the Stars. Anaheim continues to roll, and the Colorado Avalanche went 9-0 on the week. Outstanding week by Counterattack, who will be one of our guests on the show here in a little bit. But as far as the movement in the standings and what you're seeing and how the standings themselves will affect the trade deadline today and what these teams that are making a push for the playoffs are going to do, what have you guys seen? Mike?
Well, I've seen a lot of things that, we've seen teams, like as expected, teams that are not trending towards getting into the playoffs. We've seen them making some moves to bolster for next season, draft picks and such. But, Colorado this week blew me away. They came out and went 9-0 this week. Did an absolutely amazing job, and they've got their name right back in the hat here. They are not far. They're just on the edge pushing for a playoff spot here. They are 3 points out of a playoff spot as we
go. That West Central is ridiculous.
It's close. I mean, it's literally 3 points separate the fourth place, or make that 5 points separate the fourth place team. I mean, you have
five teams within 6 points of each other, and those are all the bottom teams.
Colorado is on their way. Like, here they come. And, you better not take them lightly if you play them, because they've been playing extremely well. They were the only team to go 9-0 last week. And, they're charging. Now, the thing that gets me there is, and I'm sure we'll hear about this in a little bit as we're having Counterattack on the show.
I'll ask them for sure.
But, 9 wins in a row. Why change stuff? Him and I had chatted about this in private, off the record earlier. So, I kind of have my answer. But, out there publicly, I'm just like, I'm looking at it from the outside looking in. It's like, man, 9 wins in a row. Why would you change a thing? If we had 9 wins in a row, I'd be like, okay, we're done.
Right.
Leave it right there. Everybody's playing with the same people the rest of the way here. Let's go.
Well, we've kind of done
feud.
that, and we weren't 9-0. But yeah, that counterattack and the Colorado Avalanche have really climbed themselves out of a very deep hole that they dug in the first 2 weeks of the season. And honestly, if they were in any other division in the league, especially if they were in one of the 2 Eastern Conference divisions, and they just pulled off what they've pulled off over the last 3 weeks or so, they'd be sitting in a playoff spot. So, props to them. There's obviously sometimes you can make too many moves and ruin things and whatever. But to this point, with the amount of trades Colorado has made, they have only gotten better, and their most recent example is 9 straight wins. So I'm not going to question it too much, honestly, because all counterattack has done is improve that team. So Goose Chuck, what are you seeing out of the Central or any other division that you want to talk about?
Well, yeah, I mean, you could talk about all 4, but obviously the West Central is that division that is, if you could be a part of that race between 3rd and 7th, it certainly would be extremely fun to be on one of those teams because, honestly, you can't count any of them out. You've seen St. Louis be dominant. You've seen St. Louis struggle. You've seen Colorado struggle. You've seen Colorado be dominant just this past week. And then, of course, the same with Winnipeg, Minnesota, and Nashville. So that race can go any way. Obviously, it seems as if Chicago and Dallas are out of the picture. I think they're both going to run away 1 and 2, but for that 3rd and 4th spot, we're really, really going to see a nice battle in that West Central division. But looking around the rest of the league, specifically the West Pacific, we get a nice battle between Edmonton and Arizona. You guys are tied there at 70 points, and then Vancouver's trying to sneak in as well, making a run in 4th place, only a point behind you guys. But once again, we just continue to see Anaheim dominate. They're 40-11-3. That's even better than I thought they were, honestly, going this deep into the season. So Anaheim, again, they're the class of the league right now, and we'll have to see how they fare going any further. But again, the trade deadline, this is going to be the difference between those teams battling for that playoff position. That's 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th seed in the playoffs. We're really going to see, can you make a move right now, literally within a couple hours, that's going to turn your season around for the better? We'll see what happens because it's certainly going to be fun to watch the games being played, but the preparation for those games, the trades that need to be made, the adjustments to your roster, that's really where the games are going to be won and lost.
Now,
Absolutely.
I think one thing that everybody needs to keep an eye on here is, we've had some massive drama go down in Winnipeg, and they're currently sitting in a playoff spot, and their owner has been removed and is no longer the owner. So we have an ownership change going on in Winnipeg there, and we'll see if that does, one or the other. It's either going to light a fire under guys and get them going, or it's going to blow it up, and we're going to get one of these. And the whole team is going to fall to pieces, and it's just, we'll see what happens with Winnipeg, but, there's some big time issues going on in that locker room right now.
There is. There's plenty of stuff to talk about as far as that goes, and we'll get back into the standings as trades kind of happen and we kind of look back into these divisions after teams are starting to finalize their roster, probably in the second hour of the show after we pass the trade deadline and we kind of see where things are finalized, how these divisions look to shake out. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and do power rankings. We're about 20 minutes away from starting to have guests on the show, so we're going to go ahead and start with power rankings. We didn't do a show last night because we're doing this one today, so we're going to kind of mix 2 types of shows together here. And I'll go ahead and kick us off on the goalie list here. Skip down. On the goalie list this week, we see a few common names that keep having a solid week every week, week after week up here. but we've got a couple of faces we haven't seen on here in a while, and I need to give some props to this guy from Colorado, Jade Dragoon. He went 5-0 this week, 0.54 goals against and an 81.8 save percentage. He was up in the stars a few weeks ago, and I didn't give him the star of the week, but here he goes 5-0 this week as part of that 9-0 week by Colorado, along with his second part of the dual tandem there, the GM Mooner 2014, who went 4-0 and had a shutout, was the league's third star of the week. But a lot of good stuff from the goalies on this list this week. And AHL All-Star 3 is showing that he's apparently better than just an AHL All-Star, because he went 4-0 with the Anaheim Ducks, who just continue on this torrent pace through the season. Staying atop the league with 73 points. Outstanding that they seem to get every position right so far to this point. Dallas has San Jose 1, who played 6 games this week, went 5-1 with a 2.33 goals against and an 80.8 save percentage with 1 shutout. Kearns got traded from Chicago to the Canadiens, and didn't let that bother him too much, as the Canadiens have struggled this season. He went 4-1-1 on the week with 81 saves in the 6 games, a 2.14 goals against, an 86.2 save percentage, and 1 shutout. Outstanding job by Kearns there in Montreal. Bob Batta for the Winnipeg Jets went 4-2 with 64 saves, 1.68 goals against. You see another familiar name in a Sleep Tech, who was part of that 9-0 week to start the season for Tampa. Went to Boston, and a few weeks ago he went 3-0 on the week. And then, but my first, before I get to this, Crosby 87 went 3-2 for the Vancouver Canucks. Haven't seen his name too much on this list, but he's an outstanding goalie, and it's nice to see him jump up there, as well as Craig D85 for the Kings, who went 4-2 with a 2.33 goals against. But my first star again this week is going to be King Cons. He went 5-0-1. He had 56 saves, 1.65 goals against, 84.8 save percentage, and 2 shutouts. The only goalie on this list with 2 shutouts this week. And talking to guy on our team, Schroyer, the other day, he was talking about Cons. I know he plays with him, I think in Pro Series, if I'm not mistaken.
You're correct.
And he said, in his opinion, Cons is one of the only goalies that plays this game that can go out there and win a game himself for you, regardless of how the team plays in front of you. And he continues to show it as he gets my first star of the week this week on goaltender. So let's move on to defense. And Goose, what you got on defense?
Well, we had an interesting week this week in defense. It's not really interesting, but it sounded like a good way to describe it. But we had a couple guys up top in the top 3, which we don't see this too often. At least in the top 3, have 2 members of the same team, from what I can remember. But we have Inglis on Dallas, 7 points, 2 goals and a +12, and then in third place, Fu Mancheesy, 3-0, 9 points and a +13. Both great weeks for those two. They're split, though, by Gideus on the Avalanche, 3-0, 6 points and a goal, +12. And we have, 4 Avalanche defensemen on this top 20 here, between Gideus, KQ31, Rabid Wolverine, and Matt Double. To all of them, it's fun to see. As a defenseman, it's cool to see, 4 defensemen from the same team on the top 20, because that means they're playing just great team defense. Obviously, in offense, scoring goals, it makes it easy on defensemen because you don't have to work as hard. But it does say something to the defensemen there in Colorado, leading to that 9-0 record, that you do need good defensemen on that back end, and having 4 of them together, all coming together for one great week, is certainly something. We also had a couple a good week from a couple other players. Skills pay bills, obviously one of the top prospects going into next season's draft. 2-1, 8 points, but a nice 5 goals for the Columbus Blue Jackets there, and a +9, playing both left and right D. The only one on the list this week, left and right D. Moran, you had yourself a good week as well, with 3-0, 5 points and a +11.
Good support from his partner.
Yeah, it's usually always the partner. It's never really the guy who shows up on the list.
I'm kidding.
But we saw, a ton of good weeks, and usually you see high plus minuses, obviously for the guys who make it up top. But that seemed to stood out a lot. We had probably 7 or 8 different people over a plus 10. And that just shows, going into this portion of the season, that's what you want to see. You want to see when guys are on the ice, your defensemen, your forwards, whoever you rely on to get you wins and play good games for you. If they're coming out with big plus minuses, they're doing their job. And we saw that on a number of occasions here. But my number one star this week, I'm going to have to give it to Fu Mancheesy. Went 3-0 this week, 9 points, a plus 13. And he had 3 pretty big wins over there in Dallas against St. Louis, Pittsburgh, and I'm the other one slipping my mind. But three big wins there for Fu Mancheesy to get Dallas continue to have them pull away from their lead. They're now at 76 points in second place in the West Central, battling Chicago. So great week there for Fu Mancheesy, and he'll get my number one star.
I do have a comment on that real quick if I can get this thing to scroll down. Fu Mancheesy was the 20th pick overall in the draft this year. And as we all know, there were a lot of defensemen drafted ahead of him. And Dallas went ahead and picked him, and we had Sean on the draft show to talk about that. And he was happy to have him, but he didn't talk him down at all, but he didn't talk him up. He just thought he'd fit right in and be a good part of this team. But I'll tell you right now, Fu Mancheesy, outstanding defenseman, is second in the league this season for the entire league in plus minus at a plus 50, with Kraz 18 being at 51. Not too bad for probably the 7th or 8th defenseman drafted in the draft, plus all the guys who have been up in the NHL for the first couple of seasons on defense. So just wanted to throw that in there. Fu Mancheesy's having an outstanding season.
Now we move on to what's normally the goal scorers. This week we had a lot of guys, from the same teams making it on the list. We had a lot of irregulars on here, and we had some new faces. And we had some guys who changed teams and went to a different team, went out and continued down the same path. You got Jay Cool is a perfect example of that for Pittsburgh, who went 3-0 this week with 11 points, 5 of those being goals, 6 assists. You got Sean 88 from Dallas on this list. Cummins from Vancouver. Recky's one of those guys who's been moved around. He's on Pittsburgh and finally settling in there. Had a great week. Will Rolltide for the Boston Bruins had himself a hell of a week out there in Boston. And one of our guys, RV Clutch, who's been an interesting pickup to say the least. He's a character.
He's hilarious.
He is actually quite funny. I don't know if he's trying to be, but he's hilarious. He's a good guy, and he can put the puck in the net. I could tell you that much right now. The blind ref for the Blues makes the list this week. Most everybody, actually every single person on the forwards list this week went undefeated except Clutch, who did take a overtime loss in a interesting EA Sports game. It's a glitch goal A from the Colorado Avalanche, along with Kilbrick Extreme and McLovin, all make the list. Sloshy makes the list for Nashville, and he is one of those big names that we're going to talk about who is on the move, moving to a new city come this weekend. So we'll see how he does with the Edmonton Oilers. Ghost MK for the Colorado Avalanche. Noticing a trend here. There's a ton of Avalanche players. Almost all 9 of their forwards made this list this week. Then you got Ruckshawn NHL, who's been a great draft pick for us. I love Ruck's game. He's a good kid. He's got a great attitude, and he can put the biscuit in the basket as well. Golding, T. Golding, 007 for Florida makes the list. Easton's is a regular on this list for Pittsburgh. Flapjack is another one of those guys who went out and had a stellar week for Colorado, but he's been on the move. He has been traded this weekend as well. And then you have another guy who's a regular on this list and one of the top scorers in the league last season, and Vexulence for Columbus. And then rounding out the top 20, you have your top 3 here. Kraz 18 went 3-0 this week with 15 points. 10 of those 15 points being goals, was a plus 12 and averaging 5 points per game this week. That's a great job by Kraz. So happy to have that guy on our team and be a teammate of his moving forward here. Corsi 88 for the Colorado Avalanche went 3-0 this week. That is another guy. That is one of 6 of the 9 forwards on the Avalanche made this list this week. So that's a hell of a job by Colorado. Corsi had 16 points, 8 of those goals, 8 of those assists with a plus 13. And I'm going to go ahead and give my number 1 star, just like the site did, to DDW4 from the Dallas Stars, who went 3-0 this week with a whopping 20 points, coming in at a clip of 6.7 points per game, a plus 13, 14 goals, and in dominating fashion goes out and goes 3-0 this week.
Nice job, Devin. Another outstanding week on the power rankings here for a lot of these guys, and you're right. There's a lot of Avalanche across each of these lists. Both goalies made it. I think 4 defensemen and 5 or 6 forwards. Well, let's see, 3 forwards, 4, 5, and 6. So they had 6 forwards make the list. So, a good solid 2/3 of their team made it onto this power rankings. An outstanding week by the Avalanche. And I guess if you go 9-0 in a week, that'll happen. But they played really well, and we'll have counterattack on, like we said, to talk about his team and kind of see where they're going and what kind of deals they've made. But all in all, well done, gentlemen, and I guess ladies and gentlemen on the list here, especially since I know KQ is a lady, so I don't want to just say gentlemen. But anyway, moving on from that, let's go ahead and get into these trades. Let's talk about some of the things that have happened this weekend already. There's been 1 or 2, and just as I guess we expected. What was the first date for this weekend?
It would have been Thursday, the
26th.
Yes, it would have been.
Or no, 24th. That's the 24th, I think. But yeah, so many that I have to even go to a different page to see.
But I don't think the 24th had any. Actually, there were no trades processed. They were all started to process on Friday, I believe.
I'm gonna go ahead and put my list at 200. So we saw, like you said, new ownership in Winnipeg, and I think that all started around some trades that were made or something to do of that nature on earlier this week. So we did have, regardless of what the cause was, there was a couple of big trades reversed because of the ownership change by Winnipeg, and I'm trying to look here. I guess that would have been on Friday. So we're seeing that, I guess they made a trade with the Blackhawks and the Penguins, and both of those got reversed, I believe. And also with the Detroit Red Wings, they had traded Danny Briere to the Red Wings. That got reversed as well. What do you think of that situation, Mike, being a fellow owner? I know all trades are under review for 10 days or whatever after a ban.
Well, I don't know. Excuse me. And I don't, as of this moment, I don't know exactly what went down there. And, I don't feel comfortable commenting on it because I honestly have no clue what happened. I don't know if he was removed because of the trades he made, or if there was other stuff going on, or if he was going to be removed anyway and made the trades. I have no idea. I'm sure we'll find out the details in the transparency thread that goes out on a weekly basis and explains why these people are moved out of the league. So, I don't really have too much to say about it. It was weird. I'll say that much. It was bizarre. But I have no idea what went down there, and unfortunately I can't really comment on something I don't know about. I just know that the league is down an owner now because of it.
Right. Well, my comment wasn't more about what happened with the ownership change, but what are your thoughts on the process? Someone gets removed and all trades immediately go under review, And as you could see in this case, because he got removed right around the time that these trades were made, they just went ahead and reversed all 3 of those trades.
Well, yeah. See, I don't know if he was removed because of the trades.
Right. I have no
So,
idea,
you know,
but that's
I don't
irrelevant.
know if he knew about the trades. Look at that. That a boy bad play. All right. So we're getting a explanation of the situation right here and right now. So I'll have more info for you on it moving forward as the transparency thread is up. So
Well, let's move on to a different situation then. Chicago and the Avalanche. Chicago and Colorado made a trade in division. Chicago traded away, among other things. Let's see here. Let me pull the original trade back up. The Avalanche traded Flapjack to the Blackhawks for Hockeytown and Simply Skilled in a second-round pick. Almost, I think it was 3 hours later, Simply Skilled quit the league, and this is a situation we've talked about over the last several weeks. Now, in his particular situation, it sounds like he had a kid and was maybe planning on leaving the league. I don't know that whole situation, but here's another one where somebody got traded, they quit, and that puts an owner in a situation to have to go into compensation. So basically, the trade ends up hurting both teams because they think they're getting a piece and it doesn't work. Then you've got to turn around and move other pieces. Kind of been a common theme this season, and it's really unfortunate to see.
for sure. I'm still reading here, so you guys go ahead and chat amongst yourselves.
Do you have any thoughts on that, Goose? I think you know Simply Skilled a little bit, and this isn't meant to be a shot at him. I'm just talking about the situation as this has happened with several people.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's just things like that when somebody leaves the league. Obviously, you don't know if it's a serious issue. They were complaining that they got traded. They didn't want to play for a bad team. I mean, there's a number of things. And until you actually find out from the actual person, which then again, and it could still be fabricated truth or it could be the truth, you don't really know exactly why somebody left. But the whole compensation thing, whether they have whether it is easy or not, it seems like a bit of a pain in the butt to have to go through. You make a trade, you get both sides happy. You're like, as an owner or GM, whatever, you're trying to go through, make your lines like, okay, this new guy will fit here. We'll run these lines on these days. And the next thing you know, oh, the guy we just got, yeah, he quit. Okay, well, now we got to figure everything else out. So it seems like it's definitely a pain in the butt, but also you don't really know why that person quit. There could be serious problems. It could just be bad timing. I mean, that guy, somebody could quit on a Tuesday and get traded on that Tuesday, but he was already planning on quitting because he had school or he got a new job or he has to move. So it's tough to tell. But regardless of the reason why, it always sucks when somebody quits mid-season, especially after a trade, because it just throws all sort of speculation up. People are getting blamed. People are, chirping at other people for reasons that could be true or could not be true. And it just causes a bunch of unnecessary drama throughout the league, I think.
It does. And in fairness, Simply Skilled did say he, as far as the quitting and everything, I think he had a family thing come up. I don't want to specifically say because, like you said, I don't know, and I don't know what's going on. But he did say publicly that it had nothing to do with the fact that he was traded to Colorado, and I would tend to believe him on that, especially after the week that they just had. Getting sent to them and after going 9-0 wouldn't be the worst thing to do. It's better than getting traded to a team that's lost 10 in a row. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and that's the thing too. I mean, he, like I said, he could have woke up that morning and be like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna have to leave the league today, and he checks his phone, and next thing you know, oh, hey, you've been traded to Colorado. And you're like, oh, okay, well that sucks because I feel bad for Colorado. So again, it doesn't really, not much good comes out of it, despite it being a serious reason or a fabricated, someone could just lie and be like, yeah, I don't want to play for these guys because I think they suck. Well, you get both sides of it, but in the end, it just becomes a pain in the ass for everybody.
Before you go, Mike, do you have any breaking news music?
No,
I
hang
don't
on.
have breaking
I
news.
just want to comment on this topic real quick. You know, it's, you know, yeah, they may. I'm not saying if anybody did this or that, but you know, a lot of guys don't pay attention in this league. They know what happened in the beginning of the season. They know that Colorado started off terrible. And so in their mind, Colorado's a terrible team. And I'm not saying this happened in this specific incident, but you know, in their mind and in a lot of people's mind across the league, oh, Colorado's garbage. I ain't playing for Colorado, or I ain't playing for, you know, Arizona. We had to deal with this at the beginning of the season. And I ain't playing for that team. They suck. And it's like, you know what? Open your eyes and take a look around, and you would see that, you know, and I'm, like I said, I'm not saying this happened in this situation, but it happens. This happens. And, you know, whereas if you were paying attention to stuff, you would see that Colorado's been ripping it up for 3 weeks straight. And they're right back in the playoff conversation, knocking at the door. So, I mean, you know, that being the other side of it too, to where, you know, not saying it did or didn't happen because of that, but, you know, a lot of guys just go with what they know, what they've heard, or what they saw in the beginning. They don't pay attention and see it through and see everything that's resulted down the line and where that team currently actually sits. So I just wanted to put it out there because there's a lot of stigmas in this league.
Yeah, for sure. But anyway, moving back into these deals. Other than that, we've had a bunch of deals made throughout the league. I mean, as far as teams getting their rosters set to make this final 3-week push to the playoffs. And I guess quickly, quite honestly, I can't believe we're already sitting here at the trade deadline, 30 minutes away from it. This season is just cruising by. And I will be glad after this show is over to discuss 0 trades for the rest of this damn season.
Yeah.
Tired of having the conversation, quite honestly.
I do have clarity on the whole Winnipeg situation as well, if you're ready for that. Oh, man. But yeah, there's no need for that.
It's time.
So what it was is that, you know, there was a trade made, and the owner, you know, it was one that the owner questioned, and, you know, that the GM had made. And
Be clear on the trade or what you're talking about. Is this the Winnipeg situation?
yes, this is the Winnipeg situation.
Okay.
There was a trade made to Dallas, and it wasn't fully, you know, there was a disagreement between the owner and the GM of Winnipeg on the trade. So, you know, that, you know, the trade was not reversed. It held true, and it was going to be a trade between Winnipeg and Dallas. And the owner of Winnipeg, you know, then went out and, you know, basically told the league, oh, well, I'm not coming back as owner next year anyway, you know, and, you know, basically from making that comment and then going and blowing up the team like he did, trading away a bunch of good talent and, you know, not getting very, you know, getting stuff in return. You know, it wasn't like, but they were definitely trades to where it was like, you know, vindictive trades maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, that's not me saying that. I don't, you know, but I'm just saying. So that's what it was. The owner basically said that he was going to quit, and then went out and did stuff that is detrimental to the success of the organization. And, you know, that's why he was removed. So that's it in a nutshell. If it makes any sense to anybody, you know, there was a trade that was made that wasn't agreed upon in you know, theory between the two management of Winnipeg to Dallas. That trade held true. Then the owner decided to go ahead and blow up the team, and all of those trades that were made after that point were all reversed as the owner was removed, and those trades were all reversed and everything was sent back. So that's kind of in a nutshell what happened there in Winnipeg.
Bad play BJ just recently became a bog.
Doing a hell of a job, by the way.
Thanks for being on top of that, man. That's good information to get out here on the air. So, I
mean, he's lightning quick. So
yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. So that's, I mean, if we could have guys like that, I mean, that's what you want in that position, man. He's all over it. He's all about it. So,
and they've got 2 on that team now. Is another big trade that you kind of mentioned earlier, but didn't mention what had happened. another Bog and Sloshy, got traded from the Predators to the Oilers for B Bunny, and a surprising trade to me. Not as far as value or whether or not it was fair, just really surprised to see B Bunny moved off the Edmonton Oilers, as he's been there the entire time, and he's having an outstanding year this season. But they probably, I would guess, without looking, needed a center, and Sloshy's a very good center in this league. Went and made this deal, and that was another big trade that had been made this weekend. You guys have any comments on that? The Oilers also made a trade, traded Shot 72 to the Predators for Pacioretty. So Sloshy and Pacioretty, who were line mates for the Predators, both end up together in Edmonton. Whether or not they're line mates remains to be seen, but two solid players going both directions on those deals, as Nashville sitting in the tightest division in the NHL, trying to fight for the playoffs, picking up two very good pieces, and the Oilers in the Western Pacific Division with us, the Ducks, and Vancouver all fighting up at the top of this division, just added two very big pieces to their organization as well.
Yeah, and going back to that Bunny Sloshy trade, I think that's one trade that's obviously people argue who won that deal, but I think in the end, I don't really think it'll affect either team too much. The loss of one or the other. I think Bunny can do pretty good filling Sloshy's shoes and vice versa. Now, they might, obviously different positions. They might not be exactly the same play style, and it might not work on the teams they went to, Sloshy in Edmonton and Bunny in Nashville. But I think that's one of those sort of hockey trades where it makes sense. Like we saw Johansson for Seth Jones. It sort of made sense. So I think we'll see something. I think we will not see a major shakeup in performance from either of those teams after that trade alone. Now, the trades that happen after that between those two organizations, I don't know, but I think that trade alone, I think, is a pretty even swap.
Yeah, it's interesting to me to look at that trade because, on one hand, Edmonton's moving out, a top right wing, one of the top right wings in the league, in my opinion, and they're bringing in a center, which may or may not have been in need of a position of need, so that's where I'm kind of like, I wonder what they got going on there, because now they have, 4 centers on the roster and only 2 right wing. So, I obviously one of those guys is going to jump over and play wing, whether it's Sloshy or Enable or Ovechkin. I know LaPlante's not going to, because he's one of the top centers in the league, but we'll see. But it's an interesting move. It definitely brings in some solid players. I love Pacioretty. He was on our IHL team. I think he's an outstanding player, as well as Sloshy. I mean, Sloshy's Sloshy. Everybody knows Sloshy. He's a
what's that mean?
Outstanding player.
Sloshy's Sloshy.
And anytime you can add a player of that ilk to your roster, a guy who's a shutdown D-man playing center now, that's a great move in my book. I mean, everybody, thought that these top D-men going to center wasn't going to work out, but it's turning out to work out fairly well for some of these guys this season.
Yeah. And sometimes, the Oilers, they put together a really good team each of the first 3 seasons here. And maybe for them, it was just about trying something different, getting a couple of guys to maybe shake up the locker room and just get it fresh. Because I don't think either team lost out, like you said, Goosechuck, in talent in these 2 deals. I think Sloshy and Bunny and Shot 72 for Pacioretty, I think you've got equal talent heading in both directions, and maybe they just feel like they've got a couple more options that maybe they didn't, both teams, that maybe neither of them felt they had with those 2 guys, but have other guys coming in like this to see what they can do. So that's something that we'll keep an eye on heavily as we get to face the Edmonton Oilers tonight. Never an easy game to face them. They're usually 3 lines deep, and whoever they throw out there is always a tough matchup. And I'm really kind of interested to see how this trade works out for both teams, especially Nashville picking up a pure goal scorer in B Bunny. that you said you're not sure how much of a difference this would make in the standings there or not. However, Nashville picking up a pure goal scorer in that tight Western Central Division race. Nashville's down in last place right now in that division with 57 points. And if they gain 6 points, they can jump 4 teams and be in third place in that division. It's really tight. And, they may be looking at a guy like B Bunny as a guy who can go out there and help them win 6 points this week and the weeks to come after that. But interesting trade there for sure. Both of those trades, actually, it was 2 separate deals. And that's the other interesting thing to me too, is I wonder why it had to be 2 separate deals for them as opposed to trading both pieces for both pieces in the same deal. I wonder how that all came together, honestly.
Right. Yeah, they could have just been working on it, and it just kind of went through one at a time as they agreed on what they wanted to do. So but some of these other deals that I definitely want to mention going down the list here, you had N. Riney from Buffalo get moved to the St. Louis Blues for Semple 19, which is an interesting trade there. That's a good pickup for St. Louis moving forward. And Riney's a great player. Lazy Pedestrian was moved from the Philadelphia Flyers over there to the LA Kings. Now, one that's catching my eye as well here, where'd it go? Where did I get that? It was that Nashville deal between Nashville and Ottawa. Nashville could be getting themselves primed to make a nice little run here. They've moved out some players, and they've moved in some really good players. They traded Holy Moly, Showcase, and TCX7 to Ottawa, and they picked up Marino Swag, Jor Too Good, first-round draft pick, and Slamorama. That's a great deal right there for Nashville. They're getting some good players coming back. So they have some interesting – they have a nice lineup moving forward. I like it a lot. Oh golly, I forget. Sorry. I have to go look real quick.
and now this ad from our sponsors on it.com.
Blitzkrieg.
We need to get
Blitz
some of
has
that alpha brain for you.
He's done a hell of a job. He really has. He's been making a lot of deals. But he's kind of got this team set to make a push for the playoffs here. They're sitting just on the outside looking in, and he's done a great job of bringing in some solid guys, that are number one, solid players, number two, solid guys as well. He brought in UPS Wyatt from the Detroit Red Wings, boss of bosses from the Detroit Red Wings, Beeler. They picked up Beeler from the Detroit Red Wings. So, they're kind of like the Detroit Red Wings South now in Nashville. But, you add players like B Bunny to the mix. You add players like Marino Swag to the mix, Slamorama. I mean, they've got a nice little lineup set here to make a push to make these playoffs.
Goose, go ahead.
No, yeah, I definitely agree with you there with Nashville, and I think that's, out of all divisions where you're going to see big movement, I think that was the number one division. I mean, being in that West Central, you have a battle. You have a big battle there, and Nashville, they're last in the division, but they're certainly not out of it. So to see them make a couple of big moves doesn't surprise me at all. Regardless of how much you know about the team in and out, seeing a team at the bottom that is still in playoff contention, moving a big name for another big name and making as many moves as they can to try and get something going. Obviously, if they're still in contention, they've been doing something right. But if they're not up in a real playoff spot, then they need to improve, and I think that's what they did. So they've scored 190 goals. That's pretty damn good. So we'll see if they're able to keep that going and improve the back end and improve the goal scoring and all around make a push for that third spot in the West Central.
Yeah, and honestly, chances are there's the way it seems to be shaking out right now is that there will be 4 teams from each division in the Western Conference. That's the way it's starting to look. I mean, who the hell knows what's really going to happen, but that's the way it's sitting right now, and that's how it's been for the last 5 or 6 weeks. So honestly, when you're thinking about the Western Central Division, as far out as LA is right now, from the division, they would have to try and get that second wild card spot. But with as tight as those teams are in the West Central, we'll see if that can be done or not. But you're almost in the Western Central trying to fight for the third and fourth positions. So basically, out of those remaining teams, other than Dallas and Chicago, you're looking at probably 2 of those 5 teams are making the playoffs. And then it's really going to come down to seeding. And, you know, the way that the playoffs go, I believe with the first round, you'll get the number 1 overall seed will get the worst wild card. And then you'll get the number 2 overall seed, which would be the number 1 seed from the other division, most likely, that will get the next wild card team. And then these division matchups are going to be incredible. And the Western Central, I've got my eye on, because quite honestly, I have no clue what's going to happen in that division. It's been shaken up every single night for the last 2 weeks.
Without a doubt. There's a lot of movement going on in that division for sure, and some of the top teams are making moves, which is interesting to me. But
we just had a trade too. The Toronto Maple Leafs just traded 2 third-round picks to the Flames for DJ Nell 2011. Toronto sitting right now, I believe, in 7th place out of 8 in their division, and just going to look real quick. Yes, they're sitting in 7th place in the Eastern Atlantic with 40 points. Right now, they are 12th in the conference, 5 spots out of a playoff spot, but they are currently 15 points back. And, you know, we're going to have Buds on in a little while to talk to him, see how his first season with Toronto as owner is going. You know, they've scored a ton of goals as they're sitting at 198, but have struggled stopping them. And they're in another division that was had a lot of movement as we moved on. But it seems today, like or this weekend with the trade deadline approaching, that they may be planning for next season, because they've picked up a ton of draft picks in these trades.
And you know, with Toronto, you know, it just seems like they're building for the future. We also saw them. I just had it up in front of me, but I'm pretty sure they got Calgary's first-round pick from Tampa earlier today. They gave up 2 firsts and a second for it, though. But that Calgary pick is looking to be a lottery pick as it's going right now. So Toronto obviously building for the future. Only 40 points on the season. They're not going to make the playoffs, barring some miraculous turnaround. But you know, I think Buds is doing the right things in getting picks or getting players that he thinks can benefit him going into next season.
Absolutely. And, you know, as far as getting picks goes and how all that works, one of the trades that was reversed earlier, we saw Red Wings trying to trade for that Calgary first overall pick. And it got reversed, I believe, because you cannot trade future picks and you can only trade 3 for 1. As far as I know, that's what happened. But they had traded, I think it was Chicago and Columbus's first round picks, a second round pick and 2/3 for Calgary's first overall pick. And then I think there were a couple picks from season 5 that were going into that deal that you can't do. So I think that's why that got turned around. But they were trying to get that pick as, like you said, that is going to be a lottery pick, but it's not just going to be a lottery pick, because every team that doesn't make the playoffs is a lottery pick. It's going to be a high lottery pick. So they'll have a good chance of being a very top pick, if not the top pick, depending on how that lottery shakes out. I don't know, just thinking off the top of my head, maybe we can get together with the league and see if we can do some kind of live draft lottery show to reveal the draft order for next season. That'd be kind of cool. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, the Maple Leafs traded 2 first-round picks and a second-round pick for the the Calgary Flames first to the Lightning. Mike, do you happen to know which first-round picks those were that they sent over to Tampa for that pick?
Which one are we looking at here?
It was Tampa and Toronto. They
It
traded.
was Calgary's first round pick to Toronto for Tampa's first, Colorado's first, and Carolina's second.
Wow. Okay. So that second round pick will probably be an upper half in the second round from Carolina. And the first round picks there that they traded, Tampa getting their own first round pick back.
Yeah.
Kind of interesting.
And I think that's the way Chaska might be looking at it. They're giving up a top pick in the draft, but they're getting their own pick back, which would be a late first, most likely. Colorado's, that's
That's
all
getting worse
depends
and
on
worse
how
by the day.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. So even if it's not a lottery pick, they're giving up a top pick for pretty much two late round first and an early second. So almost, all in the same ballpark there. And I think that's okay with Chaskin. I played for Tampa earlier this year and talked to Chaskin a bit, and I know he can find some players that other people might not know about. So maybe that's why he's stocking up on some of these late picks. He could be thinking, I know a couple guys that are coming into the league or that are in the AHL that not a lot of people know about, not a lot of people know how good they are, and he thinks he can capitalize on them and, might as well get more the merrier with the picks rather than going with a top pick. In the end, it could backfire on him for all we know. He could miss out on the picks he gets from this trade. But it's just, time will tell. But I'd imagine Chaska made this trade because he's confident he can find some under the radar players late in the first.
For sure. We're just trying to square away our guests here to see who we got coming on first. We got some guys that are ready. But we're just trying to get it squared away here to get our first guest on. And who are we thinking here, Jonathan? We going to go with counterattack or?
Yeah, I just sent him an invite.
Ready to go.
Yep. So yeah, we should be getting counterattack any minute, and then he'll shortly be followed by, looks like, Colt Crazy. So we'll start getting these guys in here and talking to them about their teams. And a lot of stuff I want to talk to counterattack about is he's a first season as an owner in the NHL. To give a little background, is some of the NHL guys may or may not know. He was a player on the season 1 Hartford Wolfpack that went and won the Calder Cup. I think he was doing management stuff late in the season, became either officially management or was just doing management duties, and then got himself a GM spot for Hartford in season 2, and was one game away, a game 7 away, against Goosechuck's team, Rockford, in the Calder Cup finals, and almost defended that trophy. So, we'll get him on here to talk about.
Completely flipped that roster over to his credit. That was basically an entirely brand new team that he had made there. So, that was a great job by Beefy.
Yeah, for sure. And he's got several of those guys back on his Colorado team this season that he's made some deals for over the last few weeks. One of those guys being a draft pick from the first round this season was Litz McLovin, who's a solid left winger. Actually, I'll just say solid winger or solid forward, because he can play all 3 forward positions. But him and counterattack have good chemistry together, and I don't think it's any coincidence that Colorado started to improve once they started getting some of these guys that they had chemistry with back on the team. So we do have a guest here now, but I've got something blocking my screen. Mike, I can't see who that is.
Jordan. Not sure who that is.
Is that Beef?
Is that counterattack?
Oh, it is. Yes, it is.
There we go.
What's up, man? How you doing? Welcome to the show. I know we haven't talked to you this year, but I guess let's jump right into it. Your first season as owner here. You're with the Colorado Avalanche, and it's no secret that you guys struggled out the gates, having a tough first 2 weeks of the season, but have really done a great job of getting back together. And your most recent evidence of that is going 9-0 this past week. How are things going there, man?
It's been an interesting ride, to say the least, but I don't know. There's difference of opinion on what I've done this season, and I mean, I kind of went with the AHL elite start and kind of backfired a little bit, but overall it's done good. I mean, there's lots of things that happen behind closed doors that people don't see. Like I would never have done half the moves I did at the end of a 9-0 week.
For sure.
But some people are never happy. So
know that feeling, man. I know that's tough, but you've been able to get some pretty good value making the deals that you've made this year. And I want to ask you specifically about a guy I was just talking about, McLovin, who came over from, I believe, Rockford last season, and you guys found chemistry pretty quickly, and you weren't able to draft him this year, but then we're able to make a trade with the Rangers and get him to come over. What's it been like to have him back on your team?
Amazing, to say the least. He's a very underrated player. Like I know lots of the Rockford guys know what he's capable. Even Jay Claus said that, one of the trades he wished that he never made to me was that trade. But ever since he came over, I finally felt like I could play the game again. I don't know, just something. He just plays in where I want him to be, and he works with my line. Part of the reason why I didn't ship out or I didn't keep Henny is because Henny's like, oh, I'd like to play with McLovin. I was like, man, that's not gonna happen. He's like, trade me. I was like, okay, see ya. So
right.
Is what it
well,
is.
you also picked up
he's
a center.
Like I said, he's a very underrated player in my opinion.
I agree with that 100%. I love
He is.
McLovin. I think he's got a great attitude. He's a solid player, and he's got that great attitude to boot. So, I mean, you can't go wrong with guys like that, especially if you have chemistry with him. I mean, that's a hell of a job getting him back on your team, man. Kudos to you.
And then the other missing piece we had was a center for a little bit, but Ghost is an absolute stud. He's worth way more than $500K. Oh, yeah. And I tried hard for Hazy, but even though I know he, with Hazy comes a lot of package, but he just worked on that line. But Ghost has been like almost an improvement, which I didn't think I could find for me and McLovin. So that's been another key part of our season anyways.
Yeah, that was a deal I was going to ask you about next, was getting Ghost MK off of the Washington Capitals, who clearly didn't have the beginning to the season that they wanted, though they have won some very solid games over the last couple of weeks. But I think the hole that was dug, and they ended up having to change ownership fairly early in the season, they weren't able to get out of it. But you were able to trade for Ghost, and it looks like he's jumped right into your lineup and fit right in perfectly. And I'm not surprised that you love playing with him, because he's obviously a guy that we know because we played in the Washington organization the first 2 seasons. That's a great pickup, and glad to see him doing well with you guys, especially as you guys made the run that you're making.
Yeah, man, Ghost has been really good for us. I mean, I've had some ridiculous offers for him. Everyone seems to be interested in him, but I can't pull the trigger on Ghost. He's too crucial of he's a good locker room guy, but he's also just a good dude on the ice. So
yeah, and when you got somebody of that caliber at a league minimum contract, like
with another year,
you don't move that.
I mean, once he gets to free agency, if I ever let him, he's gonna be like, a $5 million guy in my opinion.
I agree.
Easy, right?
Yep.
And he's always like, oh, I'm not that good, and I'm like, shut up.
There's something to be said, man. There's something to be said for guys who come in and just do their job. And
yeah, man.
They come in, they do their job. They're great teammates, and they're good players. I mean, if you can find those guys, you freaking hang on to them like gold.
Yeah, not only that, he can do some crazy things with the puck, but his defensive games, he just shuts people down. He is a great two-way forward, man. So
I agree 100% there.
But yeah, no, he's been good. We've had a lot of other good pieces. Corsi's expensive, but he's been good for us with our other line with Kill in them. So I'm rattled about our decor right now, because I heard Goose Chuck talking about how we have 4 guys in the leaderboard in the power rankings, and 2 of those guys are gone. So not by choice. The Rangers kind of screwed us, but.
Oh, right.
Okay, wait, hold on. Let me back up. I shouldn't say they screwed us, but I still don't understand how a guy shows up for 3 games, plays full 3 games, and we have to pay them compensation. But
yeah,
hey, man, I guess it is what it is, right?
That one's bizarre to me. I thought once they played the 3 games, but
Apparently, if you don't play up to the league
certain
standard, whatever
standard.
that is, you can get comp or something. I guess. I mean, I watched one game. I didn't watch all 3, to be fair. But like, I mean, he just looked more or less like he was skating around. But he wasn't like, lying on the ice or
shooting it in his own net.
Yeah, or shooting it in his own net. So, I mean, good on the Rangers. They stole a good D from us, but is what it is. I don't know what they're gonna do with it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But yeah. Other than that, it's been a very interesting first year and as an owner.
So as far as how your team is shaken out, and today's the trade deadline. So after today, rosters are going to be set except for call-ups and send-downs to the AHL. I know you got put in a position here where you had to make deals that you didn't want to make, but are you feeling confident, or what's it like? I guess my question's more, what's it like to be in this Western Central Division where every team seems to be holding hands from top to bottom, fighting for those 2 playoff spots right now? This division is clearly the most competitive division across the boards in the entire NHL.
It's I mean, it's a nightmare, but at the same time, it's also like, it's fun. You're playing in a division where literally all the teams are good. Like, you go look at the last 3 spots in every other division, some of those guys have like 32 points or less. Or like, I mean, it could go any way, I guess, but like, at the end of the day, it's fun. It's competitive. I mean, I'm not happy about how good Nashville got in the last couple of days, but I mean, we'll see what happens. We'll give it everything we got, and
just talking about that,
and see what happens down the stretch here. But I mean, we're right in it. It's we just gotta play some above 500 hockey the rest of the way, and I think we have a chance at least making the playoffs. So
yeah, man, it's right within reach, man. I like like I said, my hat's off to you, man. Like, with the way you guys started out, it was like, oh man, I hope things are working out over there. And then, slowly but surely, move after move, you could see it starting to come together with your team. And I have to give you props, man. I'm happy that you've got that team turned around and you're right in it, man. You can taste it. It's just within your reach. So, you guys got a hell of a chance at making the playoffs here. So my hat's off to you, man. That's a great job, Beef.
Thanks. Appreciate it. I mean, lots of people were, how many trades you're gonna make? What's the over under on Colorado for trades and stuff like that? But like, I don't know. I knew what I wanted on the ice, and I know some people say you should ride it out and see how the chemistry turns out. But some people, I have a pretty good sense for how some people play, I guess. And when I watch them, and I just like after I've seen them for a week and then playing outside of the league games with them too, you usually tell if they're gonna be able to give me what I want. So
for sure.
I kept shuffling the deck, and I finally got something that is competitive now. So
there you go, man.
I don't know. We're not going to be whoever takes us out, you're going to earn
it. Right, and that's really the best you can ask for from your team as you go, is to make it tough across all 3 lines, forward and defense, and with both goalies. And quite honestly, I feel like me personally, when we were doing power rankings a few weeks ago, I kind of, for lack of a better term, shunned Jade Dragoon on the show. And I mean, he hasn't said anything to me, but I don't think he was happy about it. And
you know what?
He's
just starting to cut you off. That was the biggest move of my season, was picking up Jade. So I want to give him a little shout out right there. I feel like I have a really good eye for goalies. I did it with Jonesy last year. And just I would pull him out of the CHL. No one really knew who he was, and then he ended up like wowing the league. And this Jade, I mean, he's crazy. Like, he has straight up stole games for us. And I mean, like, you look at his save percentage and his goals against average himself. Like, I mean, it says it all, right? Like, I remember I was watching you guys' show. I don't know. I think a week after I got him, and you guys like, oh, this guy has a 97 save percentage and 0.27 goals against average. Something must be wrong here. But no,
that was me. That's what I was talking about.
So I mean, he's good. He's real good. So
not to mention that he's going back to back in games with Mooner, your GM, who, admitted in public that he struggled to start the season, was kind of struggling to adapt to the NHL 17 format, but over the last several weeks has definitely picked it up a bit more, and the way that your guys have played in front of him have definitely helped. So, I just wanted to say that you've done a solid job. And, all you can really ask for is that your team improves from start to finish throughout the season, whatever that means. But to come out the way you guys did in the first 2 weeks and recover to the point you have, that's a great job. And I see you guys still continuing to push for this playoff spot and quite possibly could make it very easily, as you're in the only division where the current last place team in the division still has a chance to be in the playoffs become playoff time. So nice job. It's good to talk to you, man. We'll have you back on the show again at some point this season. But thanks for coming on to talk about your team, and good luck the rest of the way.
Hey, man, thanks. And before I go, I'm just going to say also Mooner, I mean, he's been good for us too. He, like you said, he struggled, but I don't want to leave him out of the goalie tandem. He's been definitely holding his own for the last 3 weeks as well.
Yeah, he seems like he's really found his game, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. He has for sure.
He's got that old Mooner swag back, which is dangerous in the league.
Except I had never scored on him, and then played him in a drop-in game 2 Mondays ago and scored a hattie. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
It must have been
That's
from
a
the blue line,
drop-in.
right?
No, no, actually, I was playing left wing, but his drop-in guys were scrubs, so I don't think it really
'cause
counts.
I always bug him. I was like, you can stop the 2-on-0s, the breakaways, but those damn blue line shots, Mooner, I mean, they got your number.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, cool, man.
All right, guys. take
It's good
care.
to talk
Thanks
to
for
you.
having me
Have
on.
a good weekend, man.
Yeah, man. Great talking to you, dude.
And that was Counterattack, the owner of the Colorado Avalanche. There's mixed opinions on what happened with this season, but he's definitely dug them out of the hole as they move on here, and their team looks really solid. But let's go ahead and move on. Mike, what's up?
Well, we've officially come to the trade deadline, and the trade deadline has passed. It doesn't look as though we had any last-minute trades come in. It was kind of quiet, which seems to be the trend in the real NHL lately. I was kind of hoping that wasn't going to go this way, but there was a lot of trades made over the weekend, and some of those trades, and one of them was an extremely big trade in my book. It had to do with some outstanding players, and to talk about that trade, we're going to bring on the owner of the New Jersey Devils and Colt Crazy, and get him on the show and see what his thoughts were in moving Theos out of New Jersey and on to Columbus. So we should be joined in just a few minutes by Colt here. Hopefully he can jump in here and kind of give us what's going on, because he made some big trades in the last 48 hours here to we'll see what happens with his team. He's got a great team. They've been doing good all season, but he just moved out an outstanding player in Theos. So it's going to be good to see feedback from him as to how he thinks that's going to affect his team.
Yeah, for sure. And he also made a deal this afternoon that I could have just asked Counterattack about, but didn't get to, with the Avalanche. He traded Kyle Bree 333, Henny 16, and Tab Panur for Flapjack and Gideus 12. Flapjack's a guy that at some point here in the next few weeks we're going to have him on the show. He does a weekly power rankings, and I really like the format that he does, and he gets several owners together and they do a really good job. But solid player. Him and Gideus 12, who's a solid defenseman who Beefy picked up, I believe, in the same trade that he got Ghost MK from Washington earlier this season. Those two pieces go to New Jersey, so we'll talk to him about that. And he also moved Skinner 53. Colt did move Skinner 53 and Uatendi 37 for Henny 16 and Serp 13. but yeah, lots of big moves. That Theos move definitely caught my eye, and I was about to bring that up to you before we started having guests on. But as we are very poor at time management today, I didn't get to it. But
Well, it's almost better to talk about it as we have, the owner that made that deal coming on. That's a big deal.
Right.
That sends an outstanding player to Columbus, which I'm sure other teams in the East are not very happy about. But, on the other hand, Columbus did send, Star 71 and Alex Drum back to New Jersey as well. So that's one of those trades. It's like, it's another one of those ones where you can't really say who won. There's great players going both directions. So, that's kind of one of those, change of scenery trades that like we were talking about earlier.
For sure. And the Devils currently sit in the 8th position in the Eastern Conference playoff race. And what's really interesting is they're at 55 points. The Hurricanes are in 9th at 53. The Canadiens are in 10th at 49. But in 7th place are the Tampa Bay Lightning with 63. So there's 3 teams here, the Devils, Hurricanes, and Canadiens, fighting for this 8th and final playoff spot in the East. And they've picked up some solid players. As a few weeks ago, they traded for Chiz Nasty out of Washington, got him to center up for them, and he's been outstanding for them. I think he's sitting somewhere around 50 points for the season, and has really turned it on since going to the New Jersey Devils, as he struggled a little bit with Washington at the beginning of the year. So Chiz Nasty was another big move that the Devils made, and I can't wait to talk to Colt about how his roster has changed since the draft and bidding. Is he going to be getting on here in just a minute?
He's having issues with the link, so I'm going to try and backdoor him in here.
Whoa, take it easy there. Well, then I will move it over to Goose Chuck. I know you're very familiar with Chiz Nasty and him being a solid center and New Jersey picking him up. What are your thoughts? Because I think he was playing with Theos. How do you think that'll affect Chiz moving forward with the Devils, as they did pick up a couple of really solid players coming back?
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with Star or Alex Drum necessarily, but Chiz himself, I think to a degree he can carry whoever he has on his team. I think he's a good player. But obviously it makes everything easier, and you feel more comfortable if you have a good couple forwards with you. So it's we'll see. You could look at whoever Chiz is playing with, say his first game this week, and be like, oh yeah, Chiz has never played with those guys. It's not going to go well. And next thing you know, come 2 weeks down the road, they're the best line in the league. Obviously that's a bit of an exaggeration, but you get my point. Just because you don't know or you're not familiar with your line mates doesn't mean it's not going to come in due time, and that chemistry could show up and they could really make an impact. So Chiz himself, from what I play with him, obviously I never played forward with him. I was on defense, but he can make plays on his own, and he can really work well with a bunch of different types of forwards. So I don't think the Devils in that aspect will have too much trouble. It's just a matter of finding that happy medium, being able to get it, because you want an entire line to have success. You don't want to just have one player, because if that one player has an off game, the next thing you know, you're really you're straining trying to get goals or trying to play defense. So hopefully they can find a happy medium there with the moves they made, because Theos is definitely a good player. And it'll be cool to see his impact in Columbus as well.
For sure. It's going to be, if Claus and Theos are on the same line, Jesus Christ, watch out. That's going to be an interesting line to play against. And I'm glad to say that we are not in the Eastern Conference or in their division to have to play against that. If those guys are playing on the same line, then there's going to be a lot of upset D-men and goalies on the other side of the teams that they're playing, because that's one hell of a tandem, and that's what you want. I mean, I don't know if they're going to be playing together. I mean, they do have Vex and tons of other good players as well, but what you're looking for are those power pairs, You want two guys that play extremely well together, and then if those two guys are superstars, then it's basically plug and play winger here. You can basically put anybody over there as long as they're smart and play responsible hockey. It's gonna work. So they've got one hell of a power pair there now. If they do in fact play with each other, we'll see. They could be on different lines, and then you have two extremely good lines. So there's options to be had in Columbus, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Theos is one of those guys that so far this season he's not had the incredible season that everybody's used to him having, but still having a very solid season and getting moved to a team like Columbus where he could possibly play with a guy like Jay Claus could be just a thing to kick him right back into gear and be that guy that we know so well. It's a very interesting move, and I don't blame Columbus at all for going out and getting him because you're right. That could be a deadly combination with those two guys on the ice together, and we'll see how that turns out for sure. But yeah, kind of interesting. I'm not going back to the trade deadline being closed and nothing really happening as it expired. I'd be interested to know how many trades were made this season because I feel like by the time the trade deadline rolled around that maybe all the options for trades had just been exhausted. I mean, now we're sitting at a point where the trade deadline is come and gone. We're going to talk to these owners and GMs that we have coming on and talk to them about their team and how it's looking heading towards the playoffs and all that sort of stuff. But now it's time to sit back and watch this unfold as teams are literally just going to go with what they've got and make a run at the playoffs. And these next 3 weeks should be extremely interesting as far as the playoff picture is concerned. And not just in the Western Central where that entire division's tight, but all the way across the league. And to see now some of the teams that, like the Pittsburghs, Bostons, Anaheim, Chicago, Dallas, these teams that look like they're going to make the playoffs 100%. It's going to be about seeding. So, then we're going to start talking about playoff matchups and who these guys match up against. And when you've got lines like, Columbus will have Chicago, Dallas, and they match up depending on the team they match up against. We'll see how those lines fare against each other because there's going to be a lot of good players going head to head as we move into the postseason.
And that's the thing with the quiet trade deadline. You're wondering, you're going to see teams as they race towards the playoffs and they miss by a point or so. You wonder how many different GMs missed out on a trade because, last second they said, you know what, I don't want to do this. I think we're fine. And then next thing you know, their one weakness was a left wing, and their one weakness was a goaltender, or something that they passed up on. So we'll see in a couple weeks if anyone's kicking themselves because there had to be at least a few trades that were shot down last minute from one party or the other. Because even if no trades were made by the 5 o'clock deadline, people were definitely talking about it. So we'll see who lucked out by not making moves, and we'll see who's kicking themselves in a couple weeks by not making any moves.
For sure. And then on the flip side of that, teams that maybe miss out by a point or two on the playoffs, maybe feeling like they made one deal too many. Maybe moved the wrong person. Counterattack made a comment about McLovin getting moved from Rockford to Hartford last season. And I had seen Claus make a comment during last season before he was removed that he had regretted making that trade because he really liked him as a player. There's definitely going to be some buyer's remorse. Which teams it will be remain to be seen, but there usually is buyer's remorse and teams that will feel like maybe I shouldn't have made that deal right alongside a team that thought maybe we should have made that deal. So it looks like our next guest any second should be Carmstrong, the GM from the Anaheim Ducks. as we've said numerous times, the Anaheim Ducks are having an outstanding season, and have been fairly quiet as far as the trade deadline was concerned, but no reason to really move when you're sitting at the 83 points they're sitting at. And I did say 73 earlier. That was a mistake. It's 83 points. But we do have Carm joining us. Carmstrong, what's going on, man? How's it going out there in Anaheim? If you can hear us.
I can hear you now.
Awesome.
You guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Perfect.
So what's up, man? How's it going?
It's good, man. Just watching your show. What happened with Cole? You just couldn't get on, or?
Yeah, he was having issues with the app. Not, I don't know. It was weird. That's a first. It wasn't. It was giving him a, I don't know, just a weird error. But interesting. But Anaheim, I mean, you guys are probably one of the teams that have made the fewest amount of trades this season, I would think. There's not many on your list here. You haven't made one since the 15th of November. So, just kind of talk about how you feel your guys' team's going this season. I mean, you got out of the gates strong and you've just continued to play solid hockey all season long. What's kind of been the keys to your guys' success over there this season?
Well, I think most of it is just that I can carry an entire team, but I'm just joking. I got to give most credit to Polson and KG, to be honest. They, I wasn't sure where I was going to go or what I was going to do. So whenever I decided to come back to Anaheim, they had already made like 3 or 4 trades to bring in guys like Coley and Schneider, who, you guys have seen Schneider. He's amazing, right?
Beast.
Yeah. And getting Coley made us have a lot of salary to get a guy like Woy, who, I guess he's okay, but he's been great for us. We got a coin has still been there. Realistically, we just, no matter who we put out there, they seem to be able to compete. And that's what we wanted to do this year. We wanted to just get a team that can go out there, compete every night, and not just rely on one line that can get you wins every time. And then the other 2 just kind of coast through. So, we were lucky enough where we had a good core and we brought in some great guys. Like, Sabres has been amazing. That was a fun trade, but he's been amazing for us, and same with Kush. And everyone on our team.
Yeah, you guys have put together a deadly roster, and one of the few rosters in the league that, maybe people would say that you don't have the best scorer in the league or anything like that. But as far as it goes throughout your team, I think from front to back, goalie, defense, and forwards, you guys have the deepest roster in the league. And that's shown to this point as you're sitting at 83 points at the, leading the President's Trophy race so far. What's it like to manage a team like this that continues to go out and basically on average loses 2 games or less a week?
No one likes losing, so whenever we do get that occasional loss, there's a little bit of saltiness in the chat. But, honestly, I haven't had this much fun playing hockey. Our team, I get messages all the time, just guys saying that they don't want to leave and that they're having fun. Winning is obviously a pretty big part of it, but right. Even on the weekends when we're not playing, there's guys messaging, even, sending drunk texts to our group chat, stuff like that. So, it's fun to be a Duck. As much as, I'm glad I came back just because of that. I love everyone on our team. I don't think there's a single guy that doesn't get along with everyone, even our AHL team, we have Dolphin and Apparition running it down there. And, there's some great guys down there too. Pretty sure they're a top 3 team in the AHL as well. So, we have options everywhere and we're having fun. So even if, we don't go all the way to the cup or anything, I think we're just enjoying our time,
For sure.
Yeah.
That's what we're all here to do, right? Is we're not here to stress out and be bothered by people being douchebags, and winning has a lot to do with that. If you're winning, things are going great and you're having fun, and the chats are hilarious when that stuff's going on. And I love the chats for that. I think they're great for team building. You get guys in there, you get people BSing, cracking jokes, keeping it loose, and it's almost like the Skype chat is the virtual locker room. That's where guys go and bullshit and bust each other's balls and have fun with it. But then when it comes to the ice time, it's business time, and you guys have been taking care of business this season. Talk about Schneider a little bit. He was a guy that got moved around, I don't know, 3 or 4 times before the season even started. And I was sitting here going, like, my God, why the hell is this guy getting traded so much? He's dominant. He was on our IHL team, and he was our IHL goalie. And I was playing defense on that team, and I was like, God damn, this guy is amazing. Making saves, reading the play. That's the thing that I got out of Schneider the most, is that he reads the play amazing. He knows where the play is about to go, and he's there waiting for the puck when it happens. So what are your, he's obviously having an outstanding season, but what do you think of Schneider over there?
Ooh. Oh, it looks like he froze.
That blows.
We'll see if we get him back here in a second.
There we go. Can you guys hear me now?
Okay.
Yeah. Man, I can't even say enough about Schneider. I remember right whenever I came in, boss messaged me saying, like, what do you think about trading a first for Schneider? And I mean, first round picks are like gold in this league. You guys know that.
Mm-hmm.
So at first I was kind of iffy about it. I talked to some other owners about him who said he was pretty solid. So we knew that we wanted to get a number one goalie in here that could play, 6 games a week and keep us in games. And I mean, he's done way more than that. There's times where I probably stop playing, go take a piss, come back, and they still wouldn't score just because he's fucking, as you said, he reads the play so well. I mean, there would be times where I'm like already like, crap, they just scored. And he just comes up and makes a ridiculous save. So, a lot of credit has to go to him. Our defense too. I don't want to play against them, that's for sure. They've been keeping shots the outside. And even, you guys saw All-Star. He came, I think, second in the goalie rankings this week, just again because we have great defense and our goalies make the saves. So that's what you want. And going through the playoffs, I'm really confident in our goalies, our defense, and I guess our forwards are okay too.
Well, one stat I want to point out that kind of tells me all I need to know about your goaltenders, and especially Schneider. You guys have the best record in the league. You have the best record in the league, but you also have the best record in the league in 1-goal games. You're 22-3-3. And a big part of that can be having a goalie like Schneider who makes big saves late in games, even in overtime, where you've played, 28 1-goal games and only 3 of them. So 25 out of 28 games, you've gotten at least a point, but won 22 of those games in 1-goal games, which is an outstanding stat. And based on the power rankings and seeing Schneider sitting up at the top every damn week, it doesn't surprise me one bit.
Yeah, no, he's been amazing. 28 games, I think we need to start scoring a little bit more. That's what, we brought Clarkeskog in just because, I don't know how to put in the back of the net. I just know how to hit people. So, if he can do that, I'll just run around. But, I can't say enough about him. The fact that we got him for a first-round pick is definitely looking like a steal now, especially because, right now it's a 30th pick or whatever. I don't remember how it works, but it's pretty much a second rounder. So
yeah, it's gonna be 20s, no better than 20s. Obviously, you guys are making the playoffs. It's not like
fingers crossed.
You could have an epic meltdown and lose everything here on out and still make the playoffs. I think so. Yeah, that ain't happening anytime soon. So
yeah. Well, you guys have had an outstanding year. And before I let you go, is there anybody else on the team you want to give a shout out to? I know you guys have a deep roster, but before we let you go, we always like to give people a chance to shout people out on the show.
I want to give a shout out to everyone. Really, everyone's been messaging me. I know a coin has been huge for us with Clark. They play on my line and they carry me every night, which is nice. Potsy and KG. I think they're probably the most underrated D pairing in the league. I think they've lost maybe 1 game this year, and we put them out against the top lines every night. So they've been solid. Boss, KG are amazing partners. I'm glad that I'm a GM with them. They're the brains, and I'm just here for the looks, I guess. And Jay Cool could have been a Duck. He wanted me to give him a shout out, but I think he's missing us now. But he's still on a great team in Pittsburgh, right? So they'll do well. But yeah, shout out to everyone on the Ducks and the Gulls. I know J Mars has been big for us. Entry, Dom Scott will come up for us for sure to get some games in when guys can't make it. And Tommy's been amazing. Might have been the steal of the draft. I think he's lost 1 game as well, and we got him late first, early second. So,
well, just so you,
gamer, right? Isn't the guy from Hartford?
Yeah,
Hartford, right?
Yep.
Tommy?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Yep.
Just so you know, KG and Potsy are 17-0-1 on the season, so they have yet to lose in regulation.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, they're not the type of guys that are going to go out like Roy and get a crazy amount of points and just handle the puck and be amazing like that. They're just shut down, move the puck. I mean, they do everything right.
So if you asked them why the hell they lost a game in overtime, what's wrong with them?
Probably my fault, to be honest. I think I was in that game, and I mean, I'll take the blame for that. They've got 17 wins under their belt, so
Oh, yeah.
I can't complain.
Oh, yeah. Well, you guys have done a great job. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. It was great to see you. As far as Anaheim goes, I think we've played you 3 times this season, and we've lost like 3-1, 3-2, and 4-3 or something like that. And it's so frustrating to be in a game close like that against a top team and always come out on the bottom side of it. So keep doing what you guys are doing. You're having an outstanding season, and we'll get you on again soon.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Good luck, and maybe see you guys first round, second round playoffs.
We'll see.
Yeah,
Still
we'll
a lot
see.
of work to be done.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
Yeah,
Thanks
you
for
too.
coming on, man.
And that was Carmstrong, the GM for the Anaheim Ducks, who are currently sitting in the #1 overall spot in the entire league as far as the President Trophy race is concerned. And, one of those teams that didn't see fit to make very many deals coming down the stretch, as their team has been sitting at the top since week 1. So good to hear from those guys. Very interesting situation there in Anaheim to, trade a first-round pick for a goalie. To see how it worked out with Schneider, it's easy to say that you would do that deal, but when you're sitting at the beginning of a season, to think about the prospect of giving up any first-round pick for any goalie, he better be a goalie like Schneider, and they got that one right. He's been incredible for him. So nice job by Anaheim so far. And soon, in the next couple minutes, we'll be getting Toe Slick on from the New York Islanders. Too Slick. I can't keep everybody's name straight. Come on. Just call me Craig Rivet. And it looks like we've got him joining now. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Oh, that's
Hey, what's going on, guys?
is it Colt? Did you make it in here finally? Hey.
Yeah, what's up?
All right.
You guys hear me all right?
Oh,
Yep.
yeah. Yep. So
Yeah. The problem was that I was using I was on a different browser, so I downloaded Google Chrome real quick, and it works fine now.
Nice.
It's all got to be Google.
Yep. So we have Colt Crazy from the owner of the New Jersey Devils, and we were talking about a deal that you guys just made, trading out Theos. What goes into making a deal with a player like Theos involved?
Well, with a player like Theos, he's a great player, but the problem was he wasn't very happy with the team, which a lot of other players weren't really happy with the team because we were on a downfall after going through a bunch of losses or getting more losses than wins in the last 2 weeks. So a lot of guys were getting unhappy. So, of course, when you're getting more losses than wins, you got to make a little bit of changes. So I thought moving Theos after he wasn't very happy, and he kind of showed it in his in his gameplay on why he wasn't very happy. So guys like Alex and Star, which I know, which are very competitive guys, and they're all ready to play, and they want to get a good start and going on.
Yeah, so you also made another deal earlier this season and picked up Chiz Nasty to be a center for you, and he's played outstanding since coming to New Jersey. What's it like to have a #1 center like that playing for you that you can count on to go out and pretty much win all of his games, at least as many as you can hope for?
Well, with my guy Chiz, I love the guy. I talk to him on a daily basis. I've talked to him on a daily basis probably even before bidding even started, because I play Rainbow Six with them all the time, and it was basically me and Washington going on a bidding war throughout bidding to get this guy. And of course, when it came, I had him on 6.5 with I think it was like 2 hours left, and then next thing you know, I get outbid, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And next thing you know, and then Scott messaged me, he's like, "Man, you got to stop going so high on him. Like, we got to go with someone else." And I'm like, "All right." And the next thing you know, the season started, players started, like attitudes and stuff like that. So I thought, and of course with Untouchable leaving, because Untouchable told me in the very beginning of the season, he's like, "There's nothing you can say or do for you to get Chiz on your squad." So of course, with Untouchable quitting, that changed his styles, and the Nuke, he kind of went on like a little bit of a fire sale, as everyone knows.
A little.
So that left a wide opening for me to get my man Chiz.
There you go.
Yeah, he's a good player, and he's coming off of a Calder Cup winning season last season with our guy Goose Chuck here. We kind of talked about that before you got on, but you guys are sitting right now in the final wild card position in the East. You got 3 weeks left, 28 games to get this done, and you're going to be playing some pretty competitive teams as you move on. What are your feelings on the playoff race and how tight it is? Are you confident with how the roster sits now? You're ready to go and kind of take this thing?
I'm very comfortable with how the roster is sitting right now, because before we never played club games at all. No one was ever down to play. Everyone was either just doing something else, because people have social lives. So of course everyone's not always down to play, and we never had any time to play together to gain chemistry. So with now all these new guys that I've brought in, we're starting to play club a lot more. And actually, as I speak, I believe our club is actually playing right now. So of course, with all this and change, everyone's happy to be here. I'm happy with the way the team's sitting, and I believe we can push forward and hopefully maybe even move up to like the 7th or 6th spot, which I know we are not very too far out of. As we were, I believe we were 11 points ahead of Carolina 2 weeks ago in the same position. So of course we've decreased a lot more since then, as we've let them gain ground and get a lot closer.
Yeah, but we still have a third of the season to go here, so there's definitely some ground to be made up that can be done over the course of this next 3 weeks. And as I sit here looking over your roster, having guys like Star and Alex that you just got, Ja Gerard, who's a very solid player you have coming back on a 2-year deal. Same with Star, who you just picked up, is on a 2-year deal. And then your defensive core, you just picked up Serp 13. Shout out to him. You've got Corked 87, who's a friend of ours that we've played games with before. TC and Boston Sean. You picked up Gideus today from Colorado. You guys have a very solid D-core, and of course Bielski and net. What is your kind of team strategy as you go here now that you added some scoring back into the lineup? Are you guys going to go out there and try and run up the scores on teams now? Is that the goal, or do you guys try and shut it down and just keep as many from getting by you as possible?
Well, scoring hasn't necessarily been a huge problem in the last few weeks, as we've been recently putting up 3+ goals just a majority of every single game. But that's been really lacking as of late, which is why I made the trades and I had to get Serp back. But the reason why I traded Serp in the very beginning of the season, because we all know that we were the original owner, and he moved from I don't even know how many teams, 5 or 6, and then now he's all the way back at home. So I knew at the very beginning that he was a very good player, and I knew that he could bring talent. But his attitude was showing, hey, I don't want to be here, move me. So I'm like, okay. So I thought, all right, so let's move him somewhere else. So I thought I'd bring in my buddy Sobo. And Sobo played with Kyle BR, which is who we just recently traded to Colorado. They're both really good buddies. I thought they would mesh well together, which they did for the week that we got them. And next thing you know, it just wasn't working. So I had to make moves and bringing in Serp back, because Serp wanted to be back again, because he'd been playing with Scott a lot more. Scott is I've got your 6. So he'd been wanting to play with him a lot more. So I thought bringing him back, and now that he wants to be here, it would bring a lot more talent to the table. So we got to be a little bit more defensively sound and stop letting in so many goals. And I need to step my game up, because I've been playing terrible as of late in the last few weeks.
Yeah, well, you guys, looking at your roster, you have a very solid roster, and I'm not going to be surprised at all when you make the playoffs this season, as I think you will.
I think you as well.
What kind of matchups do you like for the playoffs? Do you have lines that you have already set, or do you kind of, based on availability, guys have to get mixed up, or do you guys have lines that are that'll stick together and play 3 games a week with each other?
I do have lines set up in my head, but of course, availability is always going to mess it up. But I do have lines, because I do like to have Chiz to play with Scott or Talent, aka Black Mamba, because they really like to play with each other. So so the lines in my head are not always gonna fill out on paper due to availability, but of course with the new guys I brought in, they're available like 9 a week, and then 8, 7, and then of course Chiz plays with Flap off of LG, so bringing in Flap, aka my boy. I love Flap because we're both Caps fans, which is very, very limited. There are a lot of Caps fans on the site. I'll tell you that right now. So Flap, I love the guy. So I'm not gonna go full into detail on who's gonna be playing with who because I can't promise.
Of course. Yeah. Right. No, I get that. I just didn't know if.
Which a lot of players have a hard time of understanding as well, because a lot of players that they like to request on who they want to play with, but I can't always promise them, hey, you're gonna get these guys every game of the week. No, right. I can't do that. I just gotta do what I can.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, it's tough. I mean, you want guys to play together, and sometimes you have guys that like, I want to play with this guy, but when they go sign up for games, they never sign up on the same days. So
exactly.
It's definitely something tough to go through. But I like the moves that you've made. Your roster looks solid as you move on, and I expect you guys to kind of make a run here now that you've got the roster set. And now since there's no movement to be done, so you don't have to think about it anymore. You can really just focus on you can just focus on hockey and kind of move forward to finish this season.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the rest of the season. I have high expectations for my team as we go on. And of course, this week's going to be big as we play against a lot of division rivals going in. So this is going to be a big push. These are a lot of must-need wins. And me, myself, I got to step up my game as I haven't been playing well as of late because I've got a lot of stuff going on. I got a lot of stuff going on, and everything's just busy because of work. Because this takes up a lot of time.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize that this league, being an owner, takes up so much time because your phone is constantly in your hand. You're keeping an eye on the site, Skype, and whatever other app you may use for this site. Like, it's just so much time consuming.
Yeah. Sometimes I want to sit at my desk and smash my face into my keyboard. Like that Skype emoji. Yep. But thanks a lot for coming on, Colt. It was good to have you. I look forward to seeing how New Jersey finishes out the season, and quite honestly, I think you guys are poised to make a run through your division here, and still have a chance to move up into a division playoff spot before this is all said and done. So good luck the rest of the season, and hopefully we have you on again soon.
Yep, thanks for having me on, guys, and good luck to you guys for the rest of the season.
Appreciate it, man. Glad we were able to get you.
Thanks, man.
All right, have a good one, guys.
Yep.
All right, buddy.
You too. And that was Colt Crazy, the owner of the New Jersey Devils, who made a couple of big trades this weekend, but also throughout the season. And as he said, went and got Serp, his buddy, back to play defense for him, which is where he originally started this season. So we'll see how that shakes out there. What else is going on? Are there Goose Chuck? Were there any other trades that happened that you wanted to talk about while we try and get Too Slick on here?
I can look through, but I'm pretty sure we hit at least the major ones.
Okay. Well, we are going to try and get Too Slick on from the New York Islanders and talk to him and talk about their team. And they've got an interesting situation as they were sitting at the top of their division after 3 weeks and then hit a string of games, about 12 to 14 games where they really struggled and dropped back to fourth in their division. They've gotten back to third, but the division that they're in with the where are they at? With the Penguins and the Blue Jackets ahead of them, those are teams that we've talked about. It's much easier to drop points and move down in the standings than it is to gain points and move all the way back up. So
you got that right. We'll
talk to him and see how he's feeling with the New York Islanders, as they still have a really solid roster, and they've turned it back on here over the last week and a half or so, and we'll see how this season plays out. Getting two teams from the same division back to back on the show here two guys for management. It'll be really interesting to hear both of their perspectives, as we've already heard Colts. But Mike, what do you got for us?
Well, Two Slick should be joining us here shortly. Hopefully, the app is working for him. If you don't get on Two Slick, try if you're using an iPhone or something, download Google Chrome, and then that should get you in if you're having any issues.
Or the Google Hangouts app works way better on the iPhone, as I found out. That's what I'm using today because I don't have my other computer here, but it wouldn't work until I did the app. So I don't know if that's the same for everybody, but just a little hint if you're using one that it might be the Google Hangouts app that you need to use to get it to work.
For sure, he's typing here, but in the meantime, yep, he's got to download the app. So
okay,
that is what it is.
Well, let's talk about this Eastern Metropolitan Division a little bit. Pittsburgh's sitting on top, currently tied with Boston with 75 points for the top spot in the Eastern Conference. Those two teams have been back and forth all season, especially the last 3 or 4 weeks. But Pittsburgh and Columbus sitting at the top of this division, and then the Islanders a little bit, but 8 points back of the Blue Jackets. The Devils, another 8 points back of them. What do you guys think about this division? Because Carolina is sitting at 21, 22, and 11, but those 11 overtime losses have them sitting just 2 points behind the Devils. So they don't have a team that jumps off the page at you as far as where they're at wins and losses wise, but they're right there in the mix because they're at least getting points in games
for sure.
Yeah.
What do you think, Goose?
So
yeah, I think they're playing. I think they're playing pretty well, but it just coming down to the stretch here. It's a matter of what moves you make and what moves you don't make. Again, just going back to the deadline idea, but it'll be a fun race to the end for sure.
Yeah, this is one of those top-heavy divisions here, the Eastern Metropolitan. You got the top 5 teams up top, and then there's a sharp drop-off from Carolina to Philadelphia. You're looking at almost 20 points. So, I mean, this is a 5-horse race here when it comes to the Eastern Metro, and it's almost the same in the Eastern Atlantic. It's really a 4-horse race there. So, between the top 5 teams in the Eastern Metropolitan and the top 4 in the Eastern Atlantic, that's 9 teams total. There's one team out of those teams that isn't going to make the playoffs, and they're all within reach of each other. So that's going to be something interesting to keep an eye on here in the Eastern Conference is, the battle for that last spot in the playoffs. Which division is it going to come out of? You have Tampa sitting there with 63 points. And then, you have New Jersey who's sitting, 8 points behind them. And then you have Carolina who's only 2 points behind New Jersey. So it's really a race for that 8th spot between New Jersey and Carolina, and after that,
and Montreal.
I guess Montreal is right there. They're within reach as well. So you got really 3 teams right now that are really battling it out for that last spot. But it's interesting in some these 2 Eastern conferences where you have such a sharp drop off in the Metro division from the top 5. After that, it just plummets. So. It's going to be an interesting race to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and you look at the standings too, and one thing that sticks out to me immediately is Carolina having 11 overtime losses. And you look at that and you think even just half of those, you give them an extra point, they're above New Jersey and in a much better position. So it's games like that where you see Carolina 11 overtime losses. They're competing. 1-goal games, 12, 5, and 11. I mean, they're showing you they can compete. It's just they keep coming up short time after time, and that's a tough thing to see if you're on the Hurricanes. Is you're close, but you should be so much closer if you could just close the door on a few of those games. So there'll be another X factor to see if they can start doing that in these final games, or if they keep going up the same thing. Those again, overtime losses aren't bad, but when you have that many of them so early in the season, even. That could turn out to hurt you more than help you. So,
yeah, that's the point
they can turn it around.
just thinking about was, I wonder if those came in the beginning of the season when they were struggling, or if they've come as of late.
Yeah.
It'd be, I'd be interested to find out.
I wish you could click on the number 11 and it take you to all their low overtime games listed.
Yeah, totally. That'd be nice. But who knows if, because I know they've been playing a hell of a lot better as of late, than they were. They were another one of those teams that had an extremely slow start and have been playing catch up since week 1. So, they're right on the cusp. I mean, they're within reach of a playoff spot, and I'm sure they can taste it as a team. Getting right up and in there and making a push here to get that last playoff spot. So, Carolina is definitely a team to keep an eye on, as they've made a lot of moves. They've kind of changed out what they had to begin with, and we'll see if that works out for them.
And also,
sure.
to note, Washington we're very excited to play the role of spoiler for a few teams. So hopefully we can go balls to the wall in the closing weeks and try to get a couple wins against some contenders.
Yep. You know what?
There's
That's
always
what you like
something
to
to play
see.
for.
That's what you like to see those teams do. You got to have that mentality. You can't just, especially when other teams really are depending upon you being that spoiler.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want, teams out there, like another Eastern Conference team that forfeited 12 games in a row or something like that, something crazy. Like, I don't know. It wasn't that many, but a bunch of games in a row. And, that doesn't help the league. That doesn't help the competitiveness of the league when you got a team that's just going out there and laying down and saying, hey, just go ahead and take the 2 points from us. You want teams to have that spoiler mentality. Teams at the bottom got to be, they got to have it in them to go out there and compete and take these points from these teams and not give them to them for free. And I'm glad to hear you say that. And I hope that all the teams that are sitting at the bottom of these divisions right now have that mentality, and they aren't just going out there and not even icing a team and giving people free wins.
Yeah, and for some teams there might be an exception, but I know Washington's case, we while we're out of the position for a playoff spot, it's still fun to play. It's still a good group of guys, and we're still trying to have some fun and still want to get wins. Obviously, you don't want to be labeled as a team that finished last in the league, so we want to keep going and get as finish off as strong as we can, because obviously, like we mentioned earlier, Nuke's made a ton of moves, and he didn't make any deadline moves, but that means, he might have some confidence in the group he's put on the ice and the group he's traded for over the last few weeks since he's taken over. So I think we're going to have some fun in these closing weeks in Washington for sure.
Well, that all being said, we do finally have Two Slick on with us. He is in the party here, and he is getting ready to come on to talk about his New York Islanders and where they currently sit as a team. They're currently sitting in third in that Metropolitan Division, and look to hold that spot, if not move up here in the coming weeks. And they're another one of those teams that did not make a trade during the last week of the trade eligibility here. And Two Slick, you there, buddy?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey, what's up, man?
Yeah,
So, you guys didn't make any moves this week, or coming up to the deadline here. How you feeling about your team moving forward down into the stretch run here?
you know what? I'm a big guy. We just felt like, hey, you know what? We're gonna make all our moves the week before. We had a little bit of a cap issue going into the week, and we had to send Hazy down. And to us, bringing him back up is kind of like bringing in that big free agent at the deadline. He's back up, and to me, I didn't see anybody else out there as good as him to bring in, to be honest.
That's actually a great point. I just happened to notice that. That you're exactly right. That's like bringing in a free player. You bring in a guy like Hazy Hype, who we all knows how to put the biscuit in the basket, and he can jump right in and hit the ground running with you guys.
Exactly, right. And he's been with us all year, so he's already got that chemistry with most of our guys. So, going to like what other people are saying and saying, hey, we don't want to kind of bring guys in sometimes, and chemistry doesn't mesh, and guys don't want to club, and they just don't play together. Well, we brought a guy in that's been with us all year, so we're very confident with our group. The big thing for us is, since when we went on that run at the beginning and kind of got up top, and we've just been playing everybody else's first lines.
Yep.
Which kind of made us better now. Going into a playoff series, we're not going to see 3 first lines.
Right.
So at some point, we're going to match up with some weaker lines, and our guys have been playing the top lines all year now. So we're real confident.
Yeah, and as I look at your roster, of course, your forwards, you've got a bunch of forwards that stand out to me. But looking at your defense, you've got Rotting Flesh, Stay at Home D, Wild Samoan, God is Nowhere, Gagan '07, Local 4. You don't really, have a weak defensive core at all. Like, there's not a weak point in that defensive core. People probably wouldn't say that you have one of the number one D men in the league, but those 6 defensemen right there, I would take up against just about any roster that they throw at you.
Stay at Home D is one of my favorite defenders in this league. I think he's a great player. What do you think about him, too, Slick?
Hey, Moran, you know that you've been trying to get him all year. So I mean, but no, you know what? I've known Stay back since NHL '09, and I've always been a big fan of him. And when I got him at 6.5, I mean, we locked him up for 3 years.
Yep.
To me, I do put him in that upper echelon of defensemen, and if you look at his record going into like 2 weeks ago, I think he had like 1 loss or something. Like it was stupid. It was silly. But you know what? Yeah, he's the core back there for us. And, getting a guy like Gag, I mean, we gave up a guy like Henny to get Gag. And, I mean, Gag's been a top guy in this game for a very long time. He just doesn't play as much as he used to. And he's kind of like, hey, you know what? I'm going to start playing more. I kind of want to get back into this. We got a shot this year. So, I mean, his salary's stupid, too. He's like 4.5,
That's one of those guys. That's one of those guys where if he gets the bug to play this game again, look the hell out, because he's a top D man in this league, and I don't think a lot of people know that. He's been around for a while, and
with another year
what
left.
the hell he's doing out there, right? So, I mean, that's kind of a sneaky little pickup you guys had there, picking up Gag to bring him in, and if he's catching the buzz again for this game, that could do nothing but bolster your team and make you that much better.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and what you were saying about the entire decor, I mean, Rotting and God, they've played together for 3 or 4 years now. So they've got chemistry. We had to give up Rabbit, who's a real good friend of mine, just for cap purposes. Obviously, getting a guy like Jay up front, you can't say no to that. You don't get that trade every day, right? So, but Local stepped in, and he's been just as good. To be honest, he's exceeded expectations for me. So.
Well, I also wanted to ask you about your goaltenders, because you have Alonzi 401, who's a very solid goaltender. He's on a 2-year deal. I believe you guys drafted him this year, correct?
No, we actually got him in free agency. At the beginning of free agency, we kind of identified him as our top target. And Thank you to every other GM, because we were going to go up to $4 million on him. We got him for half that. So.
Right. And then your backup goalie, Luigi Plays Base, is a guy that we had our eye on last season doing the show in the AHL. He was constantly in the top 5 or 6 goalies in the power rankings week over week, every single time. What I'm getting at here is I'm looking at your team, and you've got guys on the forward ranks like Caesar, yourself, Hazy Hype, Jedi, Pond, Jay's 6219. I know Jedi was a cap casualty, unfortunately. But you've got guys that can put it in, but the back end of your team, defense and goalies, you guys are solid. And especially in the division you're in with teams like Pittsburgh and Columbus who can score goals, that's going to be key for you guys coming down, especially in a playoff series.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, I played net in real life, and you got to build from the back out, in my opinion. You can get guys to put the puck in the net at the end of the day, but if you have solid D, that's where it starts. You get a good breakout, you get the puck up the ice, and that's how offense happens, right? So,
absolutely, I agree.
That's how we built it. So,
yeah. So what has it been like? Your division has really, I guess Pittsburgh's been up at the top of the division for the last several weeks, but really you top 3 teams have been shaking it up for the entire season. What's it like to have teams like that in your division, Pittsburgh and Columbus, that you continue to battle with? And we've talked about it's easier to lose points than it is to gain points when you've got teams like you guys at the top of the division. What's that like to have a battle like that with those 2 teams?
It kind of gets us just always playing, right? We don't have an off night ever. It's, hey, you know what? We're going to get these guys, every other week, and we got to grind against them. And it's just going to get us ready for playoffs, to be honest, because at the end of the day, regular season's fun. You got to make the playoffs, but the real season starts, once that regular season's done, right? So it's just getting us ready for that, honestly.
Yeah. Do you? I mean, this may be a question you don't want to answer, but are there, out of the teams in your division, is there any team that you feel like you would match up against, or you would prefer to play in the first round of the playoffs?
We'll play anybody. We're not scared of anybody.
Like to
That's a
hear
great
that.
answer.
That's kind of what I was hoping you would say.
Damn
Well,
straight.
other than getting Sazer on the ice, because he's just brutal. But
So this is this your third season with the Islanders?
no, I was season 1 owner of Dallas. We went to the Western
That's
Conference
right.
Final. I had a season off from management, and Sazer's actually a real good friend of mine, and kind of came. I wasn't going to be management again, and he kind of came to me and said, "Hey, you know how to build a winner. I want you to do this." I'm like, "That's a lot of pressure, man," but we'll give her a go. And when I came to the Islanders, like, we were bare. We had nothing.
Mm-hmm.
We do a lot of trades.
Well, you've done a really good job of building this roster, and it was unfortunate, like you said, to have to send Hazy down to the AHL for a week, but he's a guy that, I mean, say what you want about him in the shout box or anything like that. When it comes time to play a game on the ice, this guy always brings it. Yeah, I mean, he's constantly there to put up points and help win games. Is there any combination that you prefer to play with, as far as, does Hazy have a guy on your team that he's got extremely good chemistry with that you've noticed so far? Because I think he can play with just about anybody, but him with the right guy, he can be an elite center in this league.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. And I have no issue. Anybody can ask me anything about our team. I'll tell them straight up. We have our D pairing set. It's Stay, Gag, Wild and Local, and Rotting and God. And up front, we have the luxury of our wingers. We have our wingers set. It's Jay and me. We got Pwned and Rich 2K. And then we got Sazer and Yada. And then our centers, to be honest, I feel they're all interchangeable. They can run with any of our wingers, and they all have chemistry with them all. So it's kind of easy for me to do lines that way, because, hey, you know what? Most of the time our wingers have the same availability, and our centers can just roll with whatever. So
that's a luxury.
It's been great, man. It's keep doing your thing out there with the New York Islanders, and we're glad to have you on, and glad it finally worked out. And real quick, how'd the drive go?
Oh, it was good, man. You know what? Gotta go OSU. That was an insane game. Let me tell you, it was. And the game wasn't the insane part. It was the afterwards. So
yeah. That's where all
I'm hurting a little bit right now, but we'll be all right.
Sounds good, buddy.
Well, thanks for making time for us.
All right, no worries, guys. Thanks for having me.
Right,
have a good weekend and good luck.
Thanks, guys. You too.
Well, we're getting down to it here. We only got just a couple more guests to come on. We're going to try and move through these quickly, because I know everybody's probably tired of listening to us talk, and frankly, I'm getting kind of tired of talking. So, next guest we're going to jump on here is going to be Rye the Beholder from the St. Louis Blues, and we're going to have him jump on and, kind of talk about the Blues real quick to see, where they're standing in his eyes. They've been playing some really good hockey as of late, and they've kind of gotten themselves right back into the picture with some extremely strong play. And, they've got themselves currently sitting in that number 3 spot in the Western Central, which is, it's a dogfight for 3 and 4 in that division. So, you got Dallas and Chicago up at the top kind of running away with it. But, that third spot is wide open to be had. And St. Louis currently has a 1-point lead over Winnipeg, and we all know what just happened with Winnipeg. So, you never know exactly what's going to happen there with those teams. But, we'll be getting Rye on here in just a couple of minutes to join us and talk about the St. Louis Blues. As a matter
Speak
of
the
fact,
devil.
Oh, look at there. Yes, prepared. I like that. Rye, you there?
Hey guys, how's it going?
How's it going, man?
Good. How about yourselves?
Doing all right. So did you guys make any trades this week? I haven't had a chance to completely look at that yet, but I know you guys made some trades there, basically right before you kind of went on this tear here. So, talk about how your roster's shaping up here, and what you're thinking of moving forward. Oh yeah, you did.
I like where we are. We we made a couple trades right before. I think this was Friday. We added Checkmate, and we added and Riney from the
That's right.
Buffalo Sabres. And Riney's somebody that I think clubs with Claus and ZD Ball, who's on our team a lot, and they seem to have some chemistry. So we're add some offense to the first line, and we like the. I think it gives us a deep 6 defenseman.
Nice. Yeah, that's I was interested to see that you guys did move Will Rolltide out, and it looks like you've been moving some picks around here, but you did move the real Benz out there, and you picked up Barris. Talk about that move. That was made about a month ago now, just over a month ago. How's Barris fit into the St. Louis Blues picture there? I know he had a little bit of a rough start, and it is what it is. That shit happens to everybody. But he seems to be on track now, playing with you guys. And like I said, you guys have been ripping it up the last couple of weeks here.
Yeah, Barris has really stepped up, played well. He's a smart player that knows what the other team is doing to us, and he straightens everybody out, and he's a calm presence. And he's really turned it around and been great for us. B-Benz was moved for a cap reason to try to be able to call DTA. That was the only reason we moved him, was just to free up cap space.
For sure. Now you guys are sitting, in that third spot in the Western Central. How I haven't paid too much close attention here, but you kind of jumped up, from 6 to 3, or if I remember correctly, didn't you? I mean, you guys moved up like 3 spots.
After the second week, we were 6 and 12, and we kind of didn't panic, which I think was good. And we've played solid since. I don't think we've done any worse than 6 and 3 since that second week where we were 2 and 7, and we kind of just kept our heads about us and played good defensive hockey, and we're getting wins. And and really nobody was trades. We kind of just hung in there, and now we are in a position to make the playoffs. But there's lots of teams breathing right. they're right there, man. So every game we keep playing the weapon. We know that, and I think we can.
It's a little bit ridiculous in that division.
What's it like being a part of the Western Central? Because of course the Stars and the Blackhawks look to have pulled away enough to where they're definitely going to be in the playoffs. But the other 5 teams in this division are only separated by 6 points, and it's almost like every game you have must feel like you're going to have a stroke as you watch it, because there's so much riding on every single game.
Yeah, it makes losses more frustrating. I know losses are frustrating no matter what, but when you're like, man, we can't let these guys beat us. It seems like that every night. But this is why we're doing a competitive league. It's a lot of fun. I'm enjoying myself, and I think the guys on the team are as well.
Yeah, well, a lot's happened since we had you on for the draft show. And, just, I guess, kind of talk about just for a second how your roster has turned out since that day, because we were just doing the draft and bidding hadn't taken place yet. You've got your team set now. We've got 3 weeks left in the season. And, just, I guess, talk about how it kind of unfolded as you guys didn't really do too many deals after having the first 2 weeks as a struggle. You've kind of held fast where you were and gotten this team to get, I guess, gain chemistry and really climb up through the standings.
Yeah, I think we've done more changes internally, like as far as who is playing with who. D pairs, I think we really have nailed well, and also with the forwards as well. And goaltending has been really good for us quietly. Sam and Apex are solid every night. I think that we kind of just said, we took the approach to say, look, we know that everybody here can play. Let's just find out who plays well, who plays best with who.
So do you guys have lines that are set that you guys are able to run most of the time? Obviously, availability kind of messes that, but I'm sure you've got D pairs that tend to play with each other at least. Yeah,
I definitely try to play the same guys with everybody every week, and there's normally 1 or 2 games where I have to ask, hey, can you make this game work, and guys have been very flexible with me, and that's been part of the reason why I think we've played well the last 3-4 weeks.
Yeah, you guys have. I know. When we played against you a couple weeks ago, I think we lost to you 3-2, and excuse me, I don't know what the heck's going on with my voice all of a sudden.
Water.
But we lost to you
Water.
3. Yeah, water. We lost 3-2 to you guys, and I watched several of your games early in the season, and when you played against us that night, it looked like a different squad out there, and it was mostly still the same guys, but it looked like you guys had found somewhat of a comfortability it seemed everybody knew where they were going to be on the ice, and you guys dominated us in time on attack in that game, at least through the first 2 periods and till the third period where it was a little more even, but it seems like you guys are able to possess the puck, and it's only gotten better as we've moved forward.
Yeah, we have 3 really good centers that really control the game, and they're smart, deciding where they want to go with the puck, when to say, hey, let's go ahead and reset. They kind of lead our team. And defensively, we all play responsibly. We try to be as good as we can on breakouts and not make mistakes. And we're winning close games. I'm sure if you look at the numbers, there's a lot of 1-goal games that we've won recently. And some people would say that would be lucky, but I think that that's kind of the team that we are. We play well in tight games, and that's another reason why I think we're doing okay now.
Yeah, well, you guys are poised to make a playoff run here for sure. You've gotten better as the season has moved on and look like a really strong team. And I know Primetime is your GM over there. Very solid player and a really good manager. I look forward to watching what you guys do, especially in that extremely tight Western Central Division as you move forward. But I'm not going to be surprised at all if you make the playoffs and then go on some sort of run, because you just feel like one of those teams that is going to improve week over week.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. I wish you guys luck as well. I think that we got some work to do, but I think we'll make it, and I think that we'll be certainly a tough out for some of the better teams in the West.
Yeah, well, good luck, man. It was good to have you on. I'm glad you came on again. And we definitely look forward to having you on the show again in the future. And good luck to the Blues as you try and make a run here through the playoffs and finish the season strong.
Yep, I appreciate that. Good luck to the Coyotes as well, and thanks for having me on.
Thanks, man. Have a good day, Rye.
Thanks for joining us, bud.
And that was Rye, the Beholder, the owner of the St. Louis Blues, who really have since the first 2 weeks, have really gotten to be a very difficult team to play against. They're sitting there at 31-22-1 and 14-7-1 in 1-goal games. He was just kind of talking about that, but this team has, in my opinion, they're a night and day difference from the first 2 weeks. They're a tough team to play against, and when we played against them and lost a few weeks ago or a couple of weeks ago, whenever that was, they were a way different team than I had seen weeks previous.
For sure. They were, I mean, we don't see them that much, but, that was a solid game. I was impressed with the way they played. So if they're playing like that in every game, they're going to be a damn tough out, and they are going to make the playoffs because they played outstanding in that game against us, and I was really impressed. But we'll see what happens in that Western Central. I mean, it's damn close. It's anybody's, shot in that Western Central. That's a tough ass division, and we'll see what happens. But for the most part, our last guest kind of fell through here. Which is fine by me, I guess, because, we've been at it going over 2 hours here. So, any final thoughts from you guys moving forward into the last week of this, the last section of the season here? We got 3 more weeks to go, and, we have a lot of tight races going.
Yeah, I'm just excited to on the outside. Well, I mean, in two ways I'm on the outside. In the outside, not watching, every game and just being able to see the standings and who's winning each race week in and week out, and also on the outside because Washington isn't in a playoff position. So we get to try, like I said earlier, we get to try to play that spoiler role. We get to really see how we can compete post-trade deadline with some of the top teams in our division and see how we can improve. But obviously, again, the West Central race is going to be really fun to watch. Even if you can't watch any of the games, just checking in every night to see how each team did. It'll be a lot of fun. So I think LG Season 3 is going to wrap up pretty nicely heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, for me, being a player and GM of the Arizona Coyotes, I'm not going to look any further than our division, the West Pacific, because as part of this team, I can't lose focus on what's going on there. We're in an extremely tight race with the Oilers and the Canucks. But as far as this show is concerned, I'm watching this Western Central Division like a hawk. And to see how this Eastern Conference plays out to end the season, I really can't wait to talk about it next week with you guys. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today, especially our guests, the owners and GMs that we had on from different teams. Thank you for watching the Trade Deadline show, and we will see y'all back here next Saturday night.